Liverpool, a city synonymous with music, culture, and a history that echoes through the streets. But perhaps no story here is as legendary, as transformative, or as beloved as that of the Beatles. In modern 21st century Liverpool, they are celebrated absolutely everywhere. Everywhere you go, everywhere you want to sit down and have a drink. And even this one is called a yellow submarine. Ooh, and very nice it is too. But it was in this bustling port city, in the late 1950s, that four young men, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and the young man who became Ringo Starr, came together to create a musical revolution. From humble beginnings, performing in local clubs, and of course the famous Cavern Club, the Beatles began to hone their sound. It was here in Liverpool that they built the foundation of their artistry, blending rock and pop and a touch of something entirely new and genuine and very, very different. The Cavern Club, still a living piece of their legacy, was the venue that helped launch their careers. Night after night, the band played to passionate fans, crafting songs that would eventually change the music world. And then as their fame exploded, the Beatles became globally known, all over the world, unbelievably famous. But they never forgot their roots in Liverpool. The city's influence on their music and their spirit and their soul remained in every chord, every lyric, every song. Strolling down Penny Lane, you'll find glimpses of the barbershop, the fire station, and the blue suburban skies that brought the lyrics to life. Strawberry Fields, much more than just a song, it's a place, and the gates of that former children's home held a special place in John Lennon's memories. That's where he used to play as a child. Even Eleanor Rigby's gravestone exists. According to Beatles mythology, John and Paul used to see it on a shortcut they took through the churchyard, though Paul has since denied he was even thinking of it when he wrote the song. Here, the Beatles statue stands larger than life. Fans gather from all over the world to see these four together again, immortalised on Liverpool's waterfront. At the Albert Dock, the Beatles' story takes visitors on an unforgettable journey through their lives, careers, and creative legacy. And then, of course, there's their childhood homes. This is Forthlin Road in Liverpool, and behind me, number 20. Now, I know it's an unassuming little house. You wouldn't think it would have a great story to tell, but it does, particularly if you're a Beatles fan, because this is the childhood home of Paul McCartney. This is where he and John Lennon first started to strum their amazing tunes and write the music that we know them all for today. This, if you like, was the birthplace of some of the best-known songs ever. Let's go and explore it and find out what gave rise to that genius.
Hello, Anne.
Andy, hello. How nice to meet you. It's great to be here.
Thanks for coming.
Well, please go. Let's go in because
after you. It's quite cold.
Yes. Okay, Andy, tell me, where are we? Why is it so hugely significant? And what's it all about?
Well, Anne, this is 24th Road in Allerton in Liverpool. And this is the former childhood home of Sir Paul McCartney. Paul moved here in 1956 and in the dead of night moved out in 1964 because there was too many fans outside, you see. He was rather quite famous when he was living here. But this house is rather significant to not only pop culture but also the nation because, well, millions of people will remember living in a council house like this.
Yeah, a tiny little house.
Tiny.
And it's very much of its day because it was sort of just put together. There are bits of carpet that don't quite reach the edges.
Yeah.
You know, there's wallpaper that doesn't match. It was a very modest
It's
house.
modest, it's humble beginnings. Mary and Jim, the parents of both Paul and Paul's younger brother Mike, they didn't have a great deal of money. And so the wallpaper was fashioned together with roll ends. So that's why we have a mishmash of paper, and it stops dead just there on the wall. We also have mishmash of carpet. These are runners. These are what you find in the hallway and up the stairs. And the McCartneys have had it stitched together because they don't have enough finance to get a full fitted carpet, although back then it wasn't really commonplace. They used
Wall to wall.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. You've recreated it to give us this taste of what family life was like then. But what sort of a family were they?
They were a loving family. Both Paul and Mike will often talk about them in interviews. They were travelling around Liverpool because of Mary's job. And so they were quite close. So they would spend a couple of years at one place and then move on. Mary was a midwife and district nurse, you see. And so this was their final resting place together as a family. And that's why it's also significant, because it's here where the Beatles formed. You know, it is the birth of the Beatles because of what was written here, but also because of the love in the house. Mary did well for the boys.
I mean, by all accounts, and certainly from what her sons say and sing about her, that she was a very loving mother. And Jim did his best as well. He did very well after she died. She sadly died when both the boys were still young.
Yeah. Mike often says they were rather lazy when Mum passed away. She would have been very unhappy with them. There was always a bit of a layer of dust. There was clutter on the piano, and they would start eating their tea here in the living room while watching the telly. So Mary, she brought them up proper, as we say here in Liverpool. She even sent Paul and Mike to elocution lessons up the road.
Really?
Yeah, she thought that Scouse twang would draw them back. You've got to remember it was in the time of the BBC, you know, and so she thought, Paul, a teacher, or maybe Mike, a doctor. And so, yeah, it was a way of getting out of that.
They must have been very proud of this place. I understand it was her job that sort of made her important enough to be on the list for a council house.
It was. So in terms of the role she had, she was a midwife and then the district nurse, and she travelled around. This was their 7th home, and it was because of that job she was able to get the house. I believe in one of the houses it was rent-free over in Speke on the estate, and when she came here, again, the boys have said that when Mum passed away, they got really nervous and worried and said, Dad, how are we going to afford this house now that Mum has passed away, you know, because it was given to the family on the back of her job.
Yeah, of course, they can't have known what would happen ultimately. But this living room that we're in now is probably where John and Paul, who were what age at the time, when they were strumming away on their guitars,
Late
literally
teens.
teaching each other how to compose songs, how to play the guitar. Yeah, when did they come up with their first big song?
Well, Paul was writing music from about 1956, from about December, and he was playing his guitar upstairs. And then in the summer of 57, he met John. They hit it off, and they came here, often bunking off school, you see. Mimi was always at Mendips, which is John's home. She was looking after students that were living there, and so there's no way they could have hidden. But they came here, and in a little book, a textbook that Paul had from school, they would write ideas down. It was no good. The next day, they'd just scribble it out and forget about it. Hundreds of songs were written here, but it's a handful that were Beatle tunes. I saw her standing there, was written in this room, and there's a lovely photograph of Paul and John Lennon sitting just over in the corner by the TV, composing that when brother Mike had his camera and he stood just by the fire and said, I'll take your photo. And he took that picture.
Well, that is what leads you and the National Trust to be able to recreate this place. Because tell me the story of how the National Trust became interested in buying it in the first place. And the fact that when you did, it didn't look like this.
Yeah, no. It was in the mid-1990s, it was 95. The house came up for sale. The Jones family who were living here, they'd moved in just after the McCartneys had left. They decided to leave the area, and in doing so, they put the for sale sign outside. And a chap walking down the street with his family, and he was just showing them where Paul McCartney lived, he saw the for sale sign. He had a friend at the National Trust, and he said there's a house of significant cultural importance in Liverpool that the National Trust need to be looking at. And so within a few months it was acquired on the back of Paul McCartney living here, but also because it is a council house. Mm.
Yes, so it's of its time anyway.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of people say that even if this didn't have a Beatles connection, it's still a time capsule.
Yeah.
But go on, because it didn't look like this.
No. Of course, the Jones family modernised. After Margaret Thatcher had given the right to buy scheme in the early 80s, they purchased the house, and in doing so, they were able to renovate. Previously to that, you couldn't touch a house that was a council house, social housing. So they stripped out bits of cupboard and the fireplace, put a gas fire in, and so they modernised. They were able to take things out, and the biggest thing they took out were the windows. These were a donor set of windows from a house just across the road there. The National Trust gave them a knock and said, "Can we have your windows?" And they said, "Only if you buy us some new ones." And so that's what they did.
A good deal, yeah.
It was a good deal.
So the National Trust decided to turn it back in time to the time when Paul was a lad and lived here and was sort of just jamming away during the day with John.
Yeah. National Trust have a huge team of specialists, and those specialists consulted with both the McCartneys and with the photography that was taken here. We've tried to replicate a time around 1957 to 1960-62 where they're starting to make music and get it into the hit parade, firstly with Love Me Do, and then She Loves You and Please Please Me.
So do you think Love Me Do was written in this room?
Well, in the house. You know, you've got to remember, he's got lots of rooms to play with. He's upstairs in his bedroom, writing ideas. He's sat here with John Lennon, writing ideas, and also in the back dining room there, because Jim would have been sat smoking his pipe, having his tea, and reading his newspaper.
And luckily, younger brother Mike was hanging around with a camera.
Yeah, in the late 50s, he decided to take on this passion, this hobby of photography. He didn't have an idea what to do with it, so we went to a library up the road, got enough books to learn this passion, but it was here he also developed the photography upstairs in his bedroom. But in those early days, Paul was his muse. Paul, being Paul, was just, take a picture of me. Yeah, I'll go ahead then, you know. And so there's literally dozens of photos of Paul, not only in the very room that we're sat, along with John Lennon, but also in the garden and upstairs in his room with George Harrison.
Because by then they were doing pretty well, weren't they?
They were doing rather well. And it was in 64 that Jim was given a house by Paul. I understand that Paul was riding around in a Ford Classic car, a green one that he later gave to his brother, I understand. And by the end of 63, he was driving an Aston Martin.
Oh, my goodness.
So money was rolling in. And by late 63, they had money and hit music in the hit parade. Brian had got them a house or flat in Soho Square.
And of course, that's when Mike McCartney came on board ship when it was in Liverpool. And he told me how they'd decided, or at least Dad had decided, and then had to explain to the boys, that they couldn't just move into a removal van during the day. They had to do, basically, a moonlight flit.
They did. They realised there was too many fans outside, and it was Jim's idea, a keen idea, as the boys say. A van came, and they packed up and went over to Heswall on the other side of the River Mersey. Dead posh over there, you know.
Very posh.
Yeah. It even had a name. It was called Rembrandt.
And then the aunties moved in with pots of paint.
They did. The boys hadn't left the house as it should have been left for the council to look after, you know. So the family came in with pots of the cream, Corporation cream, and painted over. Well, they all smoked, you see, so nicotine stains around the house, but also, famously, the graffiti in the bathroom upstairs. They would write lyrics, apparently, notes to each other, scribble pictures. The National Trust had a specialist in a couple of years ago who was featured on a TV show called Hidden Treasures of the National Trust, who started to pick away and dig beneath the paint and the plaster.
Yeah, this is somebody who normally works on old masters,
Yeah.
tried to see what's underneath a Rembrandt or a Van Gogh or something.
Not in a council house in Liverpool. I don't think we were about to get X-ray equipment, but certainly they didn't find a great deal. They found some markings, but we just don't know what it is. But there is pencil marks, but it's only minimal.
Might be very, very difficult to restore.
We'll watch this space and see how the technology develops.
But when you were trying to recreate this room, for instance,
Yeah.
I mean, the sofas, the material, the fabric everywhere, the fabric of the wallpaper, I mean, surely they were no longer available.
No, when they went to Heswall, I had a conversation with Mike about this and said, what happened to the furniture? What did you do with it? He said, it was a mess. We didn't look after it. There's holes in the arms of the settees and the chairs. And famously, there's a picture in Paul's room where he's got his leg over the armchair. And he said, hey, Paul, just cover that hole there. Yeah. People will think we're scruffs if they're famous, you know. Mm. But they got rid of a lot of the furniture, and it's based on the memory and photography that we were able to dress the house as it was using original fabric, a dead stock fabric from an archivist.
And now you've got this feeling the minute you walk in. Anyone of a certain vintage gets that feeling the minute you walk in. When you show people around, what's their reaction?
People have different experiences with the Beatles, why they love them. It's either they danced at weddings, cried at funerals, birthday parties, but also were they there? Did they go and see them at a concert down in Manchester? What we do now is we allow people to sit down on the furniture, and if they want to have a play on the piano, they can. And Paul played that along with many fine guests who've been and come and gone with us here. And so it brings the house alive. And for a lot of people, it's like being back home. People of a certain age remember living in a house like this, and they walk around and they say, we had that clock. Oh, I remember this. Mm. Or we had that in the hallway. Mm. The house, its original name was Intermediate Standard, number 5. And so...
No, it's classification.
Yeah, that's what Sir Lancelot Keyes, the architect who designed the house.
Intermediate Standard.
And so people from as far as Bath have said, oh, I remember a house like this.
Yeah. We lived in Intermediate Standard.
Yeah. So we have about 40-minute tour, and each room is our stage. So we know exactly what to say in each room. Mm. And then we give them opportunity to walk around. They'll come back in and sit down and go, wow, this is what Paul was looking at when that photo was taken. Yeah. And there's the piano, and I can have a little go. Where When I'm 64 was composed.
What, there?
Yeah, there. The melody. The lyrics were put to it much later. When I believe his dad turned 64.
Oh, my goodness.
But the actual tune, the melody was written in this house.
Yeah.
We often walk around and we see people and they start to have a tear, and you say, are you okay? We have a box of tissues just in case. Yeah, I get it. And it's something you've said, a memory, a song that was written here. You know, Paul wrote Follow the Sun here. And I spoke to a lady and she said that was her favourite song growing up.
Yeah.
And I said, well, Paul was off school, apparently smoking a cigarette and looking through Mum's net curtains onto 4th and Road when the sun passed the window. And he composed that. Yeah.
So every room's got a story.
Every room's got a story. Yeah. And that's how we try to tell it.
This isn't a museum, it's a family house.
That's what we're trying to do here, and this is the kitchen. This is the heart of the home.
I know, you see, somebody of my vintage remembers kitchens like this.
And that's the opinion we get from a lot of people.
But that sink reminds me of, isn't there a very famous photograph
there is.
Of Dad at the sink doing the washing up or something? Yeah. And again, that just sort of completely tells you what family life was like.
It's just a normal narrative. Mike had come through the door with his camera. He said he had a brand new flash. His dad was stood here, not clearly wanted to be photographed, but he said, hey, Dad. And he swung around and said, what? The flash bulb went off and startled poor Jim. What came out of his mouth wasn't very National Trust. But the photograph was taken and it shows Jim washing his smalls, his underpants.
Oh, he's not just doing the washing up. No. He's washing his underwear in the sink. Yeah.
And he's using the very sink that you see here today.
That's the sink?
That's the original sink.
Oh, my goodness.
The National Trust found it in the garden with a tree growing out of it.
No.
Yeah.
Oh. And all of these bits and pieces, again, you've been able to get the idea, the look, from photographs.
It is. We've got photographs of John and Paul stood here making eggs and bacon. The photographer's just by the door. And it just outlines what you see exactly here. And it's quite a nice space. It's very basic, and as you can see, it's open plan. So you want your tea, you sugar, it's just there.
Yeah, actually, life was simpler in a way, wasn't it? It was. But I can see why people get very emotionally involved, because once you've seen a picture of the family and of John and Paul maybe here, you sort of feel you're in it.
Yeah, and
you're
in it. Yeah. You're in the story. Yeah. This is the story. The stage is the house. This is the theatre.
Now, this room's got a story too.
Yeah, this is the rehearsal space. But prior to that, it was the dining room for the family. And they would sit in the morning, have their breakfast here, and in the evenings. However, when Mum passed away, Paul had gone to see Lonnie Donegan at the Liverpool Empire.
Yeah.
And he came back home and said, "Dad, can I have a guitar?" His dad thought it was a keen idea. Being a musician and understanding the power of music, he got him a guitar.
He did.
But not to leave young brother Mike out of the picture, no. He said, "Here you go, Mike, here's a drum kit for yourself." Mike jokes and says it fell off the back of a lorry. And so we have a drum kit here just as a place where it would have been.
Then they were allowed, I don't know, did they move the dining... Oh, it's a drop leaf
It's
dining
a drop
table,
leaf,
isn't it?
yeah.
So shove that in the corner because it's more useful to have a rehearsal space. Because by then, the boys are really into their music.
Well, back in the July of 1957, the boys from the Quarrymen group
that was
started to
John's
arrive.
original band, wasn't it?
Yeah, they started to arrive with John Lennon and play music here on a Sunday. Jim was keen to serve them tea and biscuits and cast his ear over what they were playing, and the neighbours got fed up with the noise. Oh, yes. They used to come over with egg boxes. "Hey, Jim, can you put these on your walls, son? It'll act as an insulation without the sound."
Yeah, to absorb the noise. I wonder if it worked. Right, let's go to the living room. Wasn't it a good thing that there was a piano in this room? And that's because Jim was already a musician himself. But it also meant that the boys could lark around with the piano.
And understand it,
I mean, they both became very good pianists.
They did.
John and Paul.
So Paul, in the early days, would tinker on the piano. His dad would show him a few ideas, and then he got piano lessons, which did not suit them at all.
Paul had piano lessons?
Really? On Mather Avenue. And he and Mike came back and said, "We don't want to do it anymore." But it was here that Paul started to realise you only need 4 keys. You don't need...
Oh, well done. I like it already. That'll be a tune
4
one day.
notes, and you don't need anything else.
Yeah.
You start playing with your left hand. I don't play piano, but you got to have a tinkle, haven't you?
They were both experimenting with their own way of learning the piano.
They were.
Rather than piano lessons where they were probably taught scales.
It's by ear.
Yeah.
And then later on, when Paul started to date Jane Asher, it was Jane Asher's mum, who was a music teacher. She taught Paul how to play the piano.
Ah, how amazing.
Yeah,
Well, thank goodness for that. But well done to Dad, Jim, for having the piano here in the first
Certainly
place.
did.
And Andy, this is a very famous drain pipe because we're out in the back garden. Why is this drain pipe so famous?
Paul and Mike, when they were coming home from school, they would often lock themselves out. And so to gain access into the house, they would often come through the entryway, the ginnel, as we say in Liverpool, climb the drain pipe, go through the small bathroom window and hoping Dad has left the window open and the toilet seat down. And they would come downstairs and open the door for each other.
Oh, I see.
So in the early part of the 60s, Paul was asked by his brother to climb the drain pipe while Mike stood up there. He took a famous photograph of Paul scaling this drain pipe.
And that's why Paul's halfway up a drain pipe.
Why he's halfway up a drain pipe.
You must enjoy your job.
Dream job.
It is.
It does exist.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. I mean, not only do you, love this place, and clearly this place is loved again, which is nice, Lord.
It is.
Both Mike and Paul have seen this place, and I think they've come together at various times as well. Do they get why people want to...
I hope so. But the funny thing is, we often get this. Imagine walking back into your own past, when you were a child. Would some of us want to go back there? I don't know. When Paul came here officially with James Corden and the Carpool Karaoke, there's a snippet in the kitchen where he says it shows how much he's travelled from a young man to where he lives and how he lives now. I don't know. It's an interesting one. It's something I've not asked them personally, but certainly...
They probably wouldn't know.
They wouldn't know.
They've both been incredibly famous. They've been household names since they were kids.
Yeah.
It sort of makes you wonder where genius comes from, doesn't it? If it comes from the chance meeting of 2 young men who were brilliant at the same time. I know there were another 2, but particularly John and Paul. The idea of them loafing around here, writing ideas down, and as you said, most of the ideas not working, but some of them were genius. And it came from here.
Yeah, it's Paul's upbringing, the love that Mum and Dad gave. It's John's own upbringing, and about some of the not only trauma that he endured as a young boy and then a young man, the loss of his uncle, his mum, and then later on his friend from art school, it's all going to impact in some capacity. So for instance, this room and the room next door, we know that John and Paul wrote music together. They wrote Hold Me Tight, Love Me Do, She Loves You, Follow the Sun. They also wrote the melody to When I'm 64, and they also wrote I Saw Her Standing There, right here in this room. And each song has a different emotion for people all over the world.
Yeah, and they do come from all over the world. I mean, you've said you get a lot of American people coming round, but from any other countries far-flung?
Argentina, massive amount from Argentina and Europe. We do have translations here, and we also have an accessible tablet. So people who can't get upstairs for one reason or another, they can sit in the comfort of this living room, this front parlour, watching one of our guides tell the story of both Mike's room, Paul's room, and the parents' bedroom.
Yeah, now the parents' bedroom is interesting too, because until recently, both Paul and Mike McCartney didn't really want that room used.
No, we were told in the early days, don't let people in there. It's mum and dad's room, out of respect. They never went in as children, so why should anyone else? However, when Paul turned 80, he and Mike had a conversation, and it was fed back to the National Trust. And they said, we've come to realise, not one of us is getting any younger, and we want people to remember Mary McCartney and Jim McCartney, and about their story, and how they brought up their children here at 24th and Road. And they were very happy for us to open the room for the public, and so it's open now.
So you did the same thing there. You made sure that that room was representative of the time that they were married and lived
we dressed in. We dressed in.
Yeah.
So it's a nice, very sparse space, because we don't want to overdress it. It doesn't need it. It's a room where Mary knew she was ill and then later passed away. She never passed away in this house. She died in hospital peacefully.
Yeah, there was always a myth that she had died here.
She had.
But she didn't.
No, the McCartney is very clear in telling us straightforward, dispel that myth. The newspapers were wrong. And what we don't want it to be is a shrine where we go into a space where their mum passed away. It's not a space.
No, that's not right, is it?
No, it's not right.
They've realised, I guess, I mean, I asked if they get it, but this is representative of its time, and it was a family house.
It is. It's a house full of love.
It still gives you that feeling.
It does. When we come in, the first thing the team say is, morning Mary, morning Jim.
Oh.
It's a loving house, and when people come here, they say, it's so warm and friendly. And we evoke that within our story and how we tell their life here. We often say, if you can imagine Paul's birthday, when they first moved in and he came downstairs, he might have come in this room, or if breakfast was served on the drop leaf table and a little gift was given out, and it was a trumpet. Jim said, yeah, so we can't afford a lot, so you can have my old trumpet. It was all wrapped up, and he was made up with it. And then later on, when he got into music, he realised he couldn't sing and blow at the same time, so he traded it in and got a guitar.
Yeah.
His dad was a bit upset at that because it was his.
Yeah, because Jim was a musician, wasn't he?
He was. He played the piano and the trumpet in the Jim Mac Jazz Band. And so he understood the power of music in this house.
And thankfully, he did live long enough to see the success, the amazing success.
Yeah, of both boys.
Yeah.
In the early days, the Beatles, with the fans coming and going, of which he used to invite in. Do you want a cup of tea, love? Where have you come from? Sit down, take the weight off your feet. And that's what we do now.
Well, you still do that.
We do that now. You got a cup of coffee.
I got a cup of coffee.
We can't serve coffee to our guests, unfortunately, but they can sit down in the very space where Jim would have made sure you took your weary feet down. It's a lovely space.
And it matters.
I think so.
Hello.
Liam, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Lovely to meet you.
It's lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Welcome to the
And
hotel.
I'm thrilled to be, well, yes, and this is such a unique hotel.
It is. It's the only Beatles-inspired hotel in the world. So you're very lucky to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's in Liverpool.
Yes.
And it lives and breathes the Beatles, doesn't it?
It does. It sure does.
Tell me what you've got, because you're not just, Beatles themed. You've actually got stuff.
Yes. So This is the first recording of John Lennon. It's never been published. It's one of a kind. He's talking in college. Very few people have heard it before. I've had the privilege of looking at it and listening to the footage.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting.
But so,
really interesting.
what's he talking about?
He's just he's being a genuine, typical Scouse lad.
Yeah.
He's new on the circuit. He is brand new to music. He's very adventurous. He's passionate, and he wants to be somebody. And this,
Wow, that's brilliant.
It's a bit of history.
Those can't be his glasses, but they're
Absolutely
his.
not. I wish.
Yeah, but they're the sort of glasses that he became so famous for wearing.
Yes. We sell a lot of these at the hotel. So
You sell these glasses. People come here and they buy those.
Yes, they
Wow.
do. Yes, they do. Believe it or not, they do sell very, very
But
well.
every corner of the hotel, and this is why people love to come, I suppose.
Yes.
I mean, even Beatles relations and
Yes.
friends come and stay here, don't they? I mean, everything has been thought through.
It has, and it's been thought through with so much detail down to the ceiling,
Yeah.
which we have got some pieces of original pieces of work from the Beatles, which
I
is
suppose you're
also
collecting
gifted.
all the time.
We do. We have got a gallery full of it at the hotel.
Well, what else have you got to show me then?
So follow me and I'll show you.
This is the most incredible building.
It is.
It must be very old, or I mean, it's huge, isn't it?
It is. It's dated back from 1884.
Oh.
So it is a Grade 2 listed building.
This is why the staircase is so grand.
Yes, these are the original staircases that were fitted with the building. Everything that you see down to the marble is all original. We wanted to keep the aesthetics of the building because it fitted in with the sort of theme that we're going with.
What was it? What sort of building? What was this used?
So it's been ran by lots of corporations, so the city councils. It dated back as a merchant's warehouse as well. We used to import the officers of teas and coffees used to work out of here as well. So it was quite prestigious to work here.
Yes, well, it's very grand.
It's part of you are the elite.
But you've kept the grandeur.
Yes.
But you've still made it very, very Beatles.
We have, absolutely.
So how did this amazing old building become a Beatles hotel?
It's a good question. So there was one guy, his name is Bill Heckel. He's born and bred from Liverpool, and he come up with the craziest idea of let's create a Beatles-inspired hotel.
It's amazing that it hadn't been done before, actually.
Yeah, well, exactly. I ask that myself most days as well when I work here.
And so here we are. Now, this is Harry's Bar,
Yes.
which is presumably a nod to Hare Krishna and all the time the Beatles spent with the Maharishi
Correct.
in India,
Yes.
doing all their philosophy and everything.
Yeah.
So it's a peculiar blend, isn't it, of
It is.
Beatles
It
and
is.
India.
Yes, it is. It's a very, very unique part of the hotel. It's got, and again, such a really big USP. And it is so very well known for our weddings. They love it.
Do you have some really unusual weddings, with brides in miniskirts? And,
We do.
And
we
people
do.
in Beatle cuts.
Yes.
And Sergeant Pepper outfits.
I could sit here all day and discuss this with you.
Oh, wonderful.
But we will run out of time.
You don't want to give away people's secrets
Exactly.
anyway, I
But
suppose.
again, it's a fabulous place to have a wedding, and they do so well here as well.
I'll bet.
So let's go in to look at some memorabilia.
Oh, Liam, I had one of your beautiful yellow submarine drinks earlier.
Are you feeling
and I don't
okay?
know whether it's strong or this carpet is really deeply psychedelic.
It's definitely not the yellow submarine. It's definitely the carpets.
You've obviously been collecting amazing memorabilia
We
over
have.
the years.
This resonates so well with any Beatles fan. So this is their 1964 cover of The Hard Day's Night. Look at it. It's fantastic.
It's the first film, of course, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And there's so much that you can look at when you are here. It's unbelievable.
Que noche de la aquel día.
Ah,
So not just in English.
you've got some great Spanish.
Yeah.
Signed photos again
Oh, how
of the
lovely,
band. And there's 1,000 stories. You can
Well,
tell
that's
from
it.
the
There's a
picture.
story to absolutely everything
There is.
here, isn't
Yes,
there?
there
And
is.
you've got even more. It gets bigger and better. Sort of merchandise here.
Yes.
Isn't it? Playing cards and a 1,000-piece jigsaw.
I definitely wouldn't have the patience for that. However, we cherish it, we appreciate it, and we hope our guests do as well. And it's sentimental to
Yeah,
us.
well, some of them give them to you, don't they? I
Yes.
mean, they've, from all over the world too.
Absolutely.
And then you've got the discs as
Yes,
well. Oh,
there is.
these
Again, these are
originals.
all originals.
Yeah.
But our pride possession definitely is this
Gold
baby.
disc.
Yes.
Wow.
The Beatles' Hard Days
And it is a
Night
hard
disc.
day's night.
It
And on
is.
the other side of the same disc was Can't Buy Me Love.
Yes. Guests come from all around the world, from Asia, from the North Americas. to see these.
That really is something.
It is, and it's something that we're really, really proud of. The Beatles Museum in Liverpool doesn't hold this. We do.
You do.
We do. So it's
Well done,
it's
you.
great. Yes, it's really, really good, and we love it.
This is the... Oh, this is the Lennon Suite, all right.
It is.
Oh, you can tell. This is Imagine.
It is. It is. It's one of our most lucrative rooms in the hotel. However, it is affordable. It's luxurious.
Yes.
It's very affordable.
I imagine
And
so many people would want to stay here because this says the music to you, doesn't it?
It does.
Oh,
It
no,
is.
and you watch the telly and John Lennon's watching you.
It is. It is. We want everyone to experience this, and everyone deserves to experience a little bit of this as well.
Yeah.
These are original paintings from our resident artist, Shannon. So she's based out in the States.
Yeah.
So every single room, all 110 bedrooms are all commissioned are by Shannon. Yeah. It's fabulous.
It is. It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, you've even got the big windows.
We have.
And the white curtains. And of
Yes.
course, anyone who's ever watched the original video knows that they're in a huge white room.
Yes.
John is playing a big white piano. And Yoko goes around somewhat mystically opening the shutters.
Very majestic.
And letting light into the room.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
And then the showstopper is the grand white piano.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you good on the piano, Anne?
Well, only if I've got music in front of me, but...
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Oh, it's nice. Oh, it's nice.
Yes, it is. It's a masterpiece. We love it, and it goes down really, really well with our
Yeah.
guests as well.
Do you hear people playing it at all?
All the time.
Oh, really? Good.
And we're sort of literally outside the door listening to them singing Imagine, all the Beatles songs.
yes.
So yeah.
And this beautiful book of photographs.
Yes.
Oh,
You could sit there all day and look at
people
it.
do,
Yes,
yes.
they do.
Harold Wilson, the British Prime Minister, with whom they were very friendly.
Yes.
He's the one who gave them MBEs, I think.
It
first,
was.
isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's
Lovely.
great. Yeah.
And I know you get a good view, don't you, here?
We do.
From the balcony.
We do. We've got a great view of the city.
It's a grotty, rainy day today.
It
I'm
is,
afraid.
unfortunately, but again, it doesn't take away the breathtaking views of the city.
Well, Liam, I suppose you can't really expect perfect weather all the time.
I know, unfortunately, it's not the best day in Liverpool.
Look at
But
the view,
take
though.
a look at this site.
I mean, we are right bang in the middle of the city.
Yes. You've got the Three Graces, the lovely Liver
We've got
buildings.
the Liver building over there.
Yeah, we've got the Liverpool Eye.
Yes.
And
Which
again-
means the Mersey is there.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. So the Mersey's just across the road from us, a stone throw away. It's a perfect location.
And the dock, when I came, it was on the Viking Venus, and it was beautiful summer sunshine.
Yeah.
But we were right there, and it was like being able to park a ship
Yeah.
in the middle of the city.
Yes, it is. It's so centrally located.
Yeah.
And I think that is, again, another USP for us. It's bang in the middle of
But we're
everything.
surrounded by Beatles places as
Yes,
well, aren't we?
We are. So we've got the Cavern Club, which is situated right next door to us here.
Oh, that's the Cavern Club there.
It is, right
down
on the
there,
corner.
yeah. We've got all of these lovely modern buildings.
Yes.
And then they're merged with the beautiful old-fashioned ones that are so iconic, really, aren't
It
they?
is. That's the whole, joy of the city. We mix old, new. We're versatile.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
Scousers.
you've got a lot to be proud of, haven't you?
We have,
And
yes.
you certainly have here.
Yes.
I mean, this is amazing.
It's a privilege.
Isn't it?
An absolute privilege to be here.
Thank you so much for showing us.
thank you.
It's a remarkable Beatles hotspot, because that's what it is.
No, it's a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Come on, let's go back in.
Yeah, definitely.